The world was peaceful on the day everything changed. People woke up like any other morning, children going to school, workers rushing to offices, farmers preparing their fields, and travelers planning their long journeys. No one knew that something unusual was happening far beyond the blue sky. No one expected that a silent warning was coming from deep space. And no one imagined that the next few days would become the most unforgettable days in human history. Far above Earth, in the empty darkness, a star had entered its final moments. This star, once bright and stable, had grown old, but humans never cared much about it because it was considered harmless. Astronomers knew it existed, but they believed it was too far away to cause any danger. They believed it would fade slowly, quietly, like many other stars that grew old with time. But this time, nature had different plans. It all started inside a quiet observatory on a mountain top. Dr. Adil Harris, an experienced astronomer, was looking at the night sky through a large telescope. He had spent 30 years studying stars. Normally, he loved the silence of the observatory, the soft hum of machines, the slow rotation of the telescope, and the glow of computer screens. But tonight, something felt different. Something felt wrong. He adjusted the telescope again. He zoomed in. He checked the reading on the screen. The star he was observing, named Velta 9, was brighter than usual. Not a little brighter, but almost 5 times brighter. For a few seconds, Dr. Adil thought it was just an instrument error. Maybe the telescope lens was dirty. Maybe the camera malfunctioned. Maybe the software needed a restart, but when he checked again, the brightness was still rising. Slowly, steadily, dangerously, his hands trembled. He took a deep breath. "Is this possible?" he whispered. He called his assistant, a young researcher named Sana. She was still learning, but she had sharp eyes. When she looked at the screen, she raised her eyebrows. "This is unusual," she murmured. "Did you check other telescopes?" Dr. Adil nodded. "I'm doing that now." He typed commands quickly. Within seconds, data from 3 other observatories appeared on the monitor. All showed the same thing. The star was growing brighter, too bright, too fast. Sana looked at him with fear. "Sir, is it going to explode?" Dr. Adil didn't answer immediately. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to calm his racing heart. He knew what he was seeing. He had seen such events before, but never this close to Earth. A star exploding, a supernova, was powerful enough to release more energy in seconds than our sun released in billions of years. Finally, he whispered the words he had hoped he would never say. "Yes, it looks like it's going to explode." But the real shock came when he calculated the distance. The numbers flashed on the screen. Dr. Adil froze. Sana quietly asked, "How far is it?" He swallowed hard. "Much, much closer than we thought." "How close?" "Close enough to affect Earth." Sana stepped back. She felt cold. This was not just an astronomy discovery. This was a world-changing threat. If a star exploded near Earth, even if it didn't hit directly, the shockwaves, radiation, and high-energy particles could damage the atmosphere, disrupt communications, cause massive climate changes, and even harm life on the planet. But Dr. Adil wanted to be absolutely sure before he warned the world. He ran the calculations again, then again, and again. All results showed the same terrifying truth. The star was reaching its final stage. Its explosion was almost certain, and Earth would feel the impact. Meanwhile, far away from the observatory, life continued without fear. People didn't know that their world might soon be facing the greatest cosmic event in human history. On the other side of the city, a teacher named Mr. Rehan was preparing his lecture for the next day. He planned to teach his students about space, stars, and galaxies. He smiled as he wrote notes on the board, unaware that the universe was about to give him and his students a lesson they would never forget. In a quiet village miles away, an old woman sat outside her house, looking at the evening sky. She noticed one star shining more brightly than usual. She smiled softly and whispered, "How beautiful." She didn't know that beauty was actually a warning light, one that the whole world would soon notice. In another part of the world, a group of children were lying on the grass, pointing at the stars. One of them said, "Look, that star is glowing so much." They laughed and made wishes under it. They didn't know those wishes were made under a dying star. Back at the observatory, Dr. Adil decided he needed to inform the Global Space Agency. He made the call. The operator connected him to the emergency response team. "This is Dr. Adil Harris," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I have detected a critical cosmic event. A nearby star is going supernova." There was silence on the other side for a moment. Then the operator said, "Are you certain?" "Yes, completely. Please send all your data immediately. We will alert the senior scientists." Within minutes, the observatory was surrounded by phone calls, emails, and incoming requests from scientific agencies across the world. Everyone wanted confirmation. Everyone wanted details. Everyone wanted answers. Dr. Adil kept working, sending data, checking results, and coordinating with experts. Sana assisted him, her hands shaking but her mind focused. Hours passed. Night turned into early morning, and finally the world knew. The next day, news channels broke the story. Astronomers detect unusual activity in nearby star. Is Earth under cosmic threat? Scientists rushed to study dangerous star brightening. People panicked. Schools closed. Social media exploded with fear. Some called it the end of days. Others ignored it, thinking it was another exaggerated news story. But then something happened that no one could ignore. Just after sunset, people around the world noticed the same strange thing. A point of light appeared in the sky, brighter than every star, brighter even than the moon. It shined with a strange, almost golden blue glow. Children pointed, adults stared, animals grew restless. The bright star flickered, slowly at first, then faster, like a heartbeat. In the mountains, Dr. Adil watched it through the telescope. He knew what this meant. The star was entering its final moments. Sana whispered, "Sir, is this it? Is it starting?" He nodded. "The unexpected turning point," he said quietly, "has begun." The following hours were filled with tension. Scientists across the world stayed awake, monitoring every second. Governments held emergency meetings. People stayed glued to their TV screens, waiting for news. Suddenly, at 3:47 a.m., the star pulsed with brilliant white light. It was so bright that night turned into day for a moment. Birds woke up, streetlights dimmed, people came out of their homes, confused and scared. Then the light faded slowly until it went back to its golden blue glow. Dr. Adil gasped. "That was the pre-explosion pulse," he explained to Sana. "A star does that before the final collapse. How long until it explodes?" He looked at the readings again. Soon, very soon. By now, the entire planet was watching the sky. News anchors spoke quickly, trying to explain things in simple words. Schools and universities held special sessions to tell students about supernovas. Even people who never cared about space were now staring upward, waiting for the unknown. But beneath the fear, there was also a strange feeling: curiosity, wonder, anticipation. Humans had looked at the stars for thousands of years. They had imagined gods, heroes, myths, and mysteries, but they had never seen a star explode this close. This event was becoming the biggest turning point in the modern history of Earth, but it was only the beginning. The real danger, the real story, was still coming. As dawn approached, the world stood between fear and awe. The bright star still flickered softly, like a candle waiting to burst. Dr. Adil stood at the window of the observatory, staring at the sky. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He felt fear for humanity, fear for the unknown, fear of what the explosion would bring. But at the same time, he felt something else too: determination. He knew he had to help the world understand what was coming. He had to prepare them. He had to guide them through this. The sun slowly rose, painting the sky with orange and gold. The bright star was still visible near the horizon. Sana stood beside him and said softly, Sir, whatever happens next, the world will never forget this. The morning after the strange sky event felt heavier than usual. People around the world woke with the same uneasy question in their minds. What is happening to that star? News channels repeated the same breaking headlines. Social media exploded with theories, some scientific, some wild, some frightening. Children asked their parents if the world was ending. Parents whispered quietly among themselves, trying not to show fear, but the world didn't know the full truth yet. Only a handful of scientists understood how serious the situation really was, and among them Dr. Adil stood at the center. Inside the observatory, Dr. Adil looked exhausted. His eyes were red from staying awake all night, and his coffee had gone cold long ago, but he had no time to rest. Star's behavior was changing again. Sana entered the room with a notebook in hand. Sir, I checked the brightness levels again. They've increased by another 12%. Dr. Adil exhaled slowly. It means the star's core is almost collapsing. Will it explode today? Sana asked, her voice shaking. It could be hours or days, he replied. Once a star reaches this stage, anything can happen. Sana nodded, though her heart beat faster at the thought. While they worked, a sudden alarm sounded from the computer. A sharp, loud beep echoed through the observatory, making both of them jump. What's that? Sana asked quickly. Dr. Adil rushed to the monitor. A new message flashed in red letters. Incoming radiation spike detected. His face went pale. This is the first wave, he whispered. First wave of what? Gamma rays, he said quietly. The star just released a burst. Sana's eyes widened. But that's dangerous. Gamma rays can damage. Yes, he cut in. They can harm our atmosphere if the burst is strong enough. He checked the readings. The numbers climbed, then climbed again. Sana covered her mouth. Sir, is this going to hit Earth? Yes, he said, but the atmosphere will absorb most of it, hopefully. Thousands of kilometers away, satellites orbiting Earth sensed the same burst. Some of them shut down temporarily. Communication signals flickered. Radio channels picked up strange static. Airline pilots reported their compasses glitching for a moment. The world noticed. People saw a flash in the sky, white and thin, like a streak of lightning that came from space instead of clouds. It lasted only seconds, but it frightened everyone who saw it. In cities, people stopped in the streets. In villages, elders prayed softly. In schools, teachers paused mid-sentence as windows glowed faintly. Animals grew restless. Birds changed their flying patterns, and dogs barked at the sky. Humanity felt the disturbance even without understanding it. Back in the observatory, Dr. Adil quickly typed commands, trying to track the radiation wave. Sana watched him, feeling helpless. Sir, what does this mean for Earth? She asked. He sighed. It means we are now connected to the final moments of that star. Whatever happens there, we will feel it here. Sana swallowed. Should we warn the government? We already did, he said. But now we need to tell the world. People deserve to know. But won't they panic? They will, he admitted. But fear is better than ignorance at a time like this. By afternoon, the global situation grew tense. Governments held emergency press conferences. Scientists appeared on talk shows explaining the event in simple words. Some religious groups called it a divine sign. Some people packed their bags and drove far from cities. Others refused to believe anything was wrong. But the star kept getting brighter. When evening arrived, the sky looked different. The glowing star now shined so brightly that it cast shadows on the ground. It was brighter than the moon, brighter than any planet ever seen from Earth. Crowds gathered in open fields, roofs, and balconies. People stared upward, whispering or silently watching. The atmosphere felt like the calm before a massive storm. Children were confused, adults were worried, scientists were terrified. At the observatory, Dr. Adil received a call from the Global Space Agency. This is Director Alina Reyes, the woman on the screen said, her voice firm but tense. We've confirmed your findings. The star is in the final pre-supernova stage. How long do we have? Adil asked. She looked away for a moment, then back at him. Hours, she said softly, not days. Sana gasped. Hours, doctor. Elena continued. We've also detected a second radiation pulse forming. It will be stronger than the first. Stronger, Adil repeated. Yes, much stronger. Adil closed his eyes. Then Earth is in danger. We're issuing a global alert, she said. Prepare for the next wave. The call ended. Sana whispered, Sir, what do we do now? We watch, he said, and we record everything. The world will need answers. That night the star behaved strangely, almost as if it were alive. It flickered rapidly like a heartbeat speeding up. Light waves pulsed outwards in rings, visible even to the naked eye. Colors shifted from blue to yellow to deep red. The sky glowed faintly around it. People everywhere watched. Some cried, some prayed, some just stared silently, unable to understand the scale of what they were witnessing. In a small town, an old teacher told his students, You are watching history, something no human has seen this close before. In a busy city, a crowd gathered in a park. One man whispered, It feels like the star is calling to us. In a quiet village, elders told stories of ancient signs and celestial warnings. The world was united not by choice but by fear. At the observatory, Dr. Adil noticed another change. The computer displayed a new graph. Sana, he said slowly, the magnetic field readings, look at this. Sana leaned closer. Why are they rising like that? Because the explosion is building inside the star's core, Adil explained. The energy is about to breach the surface. Meaning we're close, he said, very close. Sana stepped back, her heart pounding. Sir, what happens when the explosion starts? What will we see? Adil took a deep breath. A light so bright it will outshine the entire galaxy for a moment. And then, he said quietly, the shockwave. Sana felt chills. Will it reach Earth? It will, he replied. But how much it affects us depends on how strong it is. Around midnight, something strange happened. A silence fell over the world, not a literal silence, but a feeling like the universe itself was holding its breath. Suddenly, all birds went quiet. Wind slowed. Even the clouds seemed to stop moving. People around the planet felt the same uneasy stillness. Then the star flared. A massive burst of white light exploded from it, so bright that people had to cover their eyes. Streetlights dimmed in comparison. The night sky turned white for 3 full seconds, 3 blinding, unforgettable seconds. Then the light vanished instantly, leaving only darkness. People gasped. Some screamed. Some fell to their knees. Because for a moment, it looked like the star had disappeared completely. But it hadn't disappeared, it was transforming. A deep red glow slowly reappeared. The star now pulsed steadily like a giant burning ember in space. Sana whispered, Sir, what is happening? The star is collapsing, Adil replied. This is the stage right before the supernova. His voice trembled. He had studied such events in textbooks, simulations, and distant records, but seeing one this close, feeling its effects on the planet, was something no scientist had ever experienced. We're witnessing the birth of destruction, he whispered. Minutes later, the second wave of radiation struck Earth. This time, people saw it. A faint ripple spread across the sky like waves moving through water. Auroras exploded in colors, purple, green, and fiery orange, even in countries near the equator where auroras never appeared. Traffic lights malfunctioned. Radio stations went silent. Phone signals dropped. Airplanes reported navigation errors. Electric grids flickered. People panicked as entire cities briefly lost power. Hospitals turned to backup generators. Space stations sent emergency alerts. Earth felt the star's dying breath. Inside the observatory, Adil and Sana struggled to stay calm as their equipment flickered. We need to record everything, Adil shouted. Sana held a camera while Adil wrote down numbers. The building shook slightly, just enough to remind them how fragile Earth was in the face of cosmic forces. Then a third alert flashed, core collapse imminent. Sana looked at Adil. "Sir, this is it, isn't it?" He nodded, his face pale. "Yes, the supernova is about to happen." Sana's voice trembled. "What do we tell the world now?" Adil whispered. "We tell them the truth." He looked at the glowing star through the telescope one last time. "It's coming." The world did not sleep that night. Even those who usually ignored the news, skipped science, or never looked at the sky, everyone was awake. The mysterious star, glowing like a giant red ember in space, had become the center of every human heartbeat. Children sat on rooftops beside their parents. Soldiers patrolled empty streets with their eyes fixed upward. Scientists stayed glued to monitors, terrified and fascinated at the same time. Animals refused to rest. Birds flew in circles. Dogs barked without reason. Cattle gathered nervously near fences. It felt as if planet Earth itself was waiting for something massive, something ancient, something unavoidable. Inside the observatory, Dr. Adil and Sana watched their screens closely. Every number, every graph, every pulse change was a message from the dying star. Sana touched her forehead. "Sir, the temperature readings are rising again." Adil nodded. "That means the core collapse is accelerating." "Will the shockwave come right after that?" "Yes," he whispered. "The moment the core collapses, the star will explode." Sana closed her eyes for a second. "Are we ready?" "Humanity never prepared for something like this," Adil said quietly, "but we must face it." At the same time, thousands of kilometers away, in a massive underground control room, world leaders gathered around a giant holographic screen. The Global Space Agency had set up a virtual map showing the star's behavior. Director Alina Reyes walked into the room, her face pale but determined. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we are entering the final phase. The star is minutes or hours away from a full supernova." A wave of anxiety spread across the room. A politician asked, "What exactly will happen? Will the explosion reach us physically?" Alina tapped a button, and a simulation appeared, a star collapsing into itself, a blinding shockwave bursting outward, high-energy particles traveling across space at incredible speed. "The shockwave won't hit us physically," she explained. "But the radiation, the magnetic storms, and the cosmic particles will definitely reach Earth." "Can we protect ourselves?" another leader asked. "Partially," she said. "Satellites will shut down, power grids may fail, communication systems might collapse temporarily, but humans on the ground should survive." "Should survive," the leader repeated nervously. Alina nodded. "We are dealing with the universe. Nothing is 100% certain." On the streets, panic and wonder mixed into a strange blend. In one city, people gathered in a huge stadium praying together. In another, musicians performed calming music to steady frightened hearts. Some people cried openly. Some hugged strangers. Some just stared at the sky, unable to look away. A shopkeeper locked his shutters, whispering, "Whatever happens, let me be home with my family." A young boy sat near his window, recording the star with his phone. "I want to remember this moment," he said to himself. Across the globe, the star grew brighter, redder, hotter. It was like watching a giant cosmic heartbeat, each pulse stronger than the last. Back at the observatory, a louder alarm suddenly echoed through the building. Beep, 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 beep. Sana jumped. "Sir, look at this." A new message flashed. "Core collapse start detected." Dr. Adil froze. His throat felt dry. His hands trembled slightly as he read the readings. "It's starting," he whispered. Sana stood beside him, her heart racing. "Sir, what does this mean?" Adil pointed at the screen. "The star's gravity just spiked. The core has begun collapsing. Any moment now, the explosion phase will begin. How much time do we have?" He shook his head slowly. "It could be 10 minutes, it could be 30 seconds. Supernovas don't follow human clocks." Sana felt chills run down her spine. Outside, the sky changed again. The red star darkened suddenly, almost like someone had dimmed a giant lamp in space. Crowds gasped worldwide. A child tugged his mother's sleeve. "Mama, why did the star turn off?" "Shh," the mother whispered, holding him close. "Keep watching." It stayed dark for a moment, a long, terrifying, silent moment. Then a thin ring of glowing white light formed around it, spreading slowly like a halo. People stared in disbelief. A man shouted, "Something's happening." A woman whispered, "It's like the star is opening." And all over Earth, scientists realized at the same time this was the final collapse. At the observatory, Adil leaned closer to his telescope. His voice trembled. "It's happening exactly like the models predicted, but closer, stronger." Sana asked, "Will we be able to see the explosion?" Adil nodded. "With our eyes, with cameras, with everything. It will be one of the brightest lights ever seen by humans." Sana whispered, "I thought I was ready, but now I'm scared." Adil put a hand on her shoulder. "It's okay to be scared. Fear is normal when the universe shows its true power." Suddenly, the star collapsed inward sharply, like a balloon being sucked into itself. Then boom! A massive burst of light exploded outward. People around the world screamed. Cameras glitched. Animals cried out. Shadows stretched across cities. The light was blinding, whiter than lightning, brighter than the sun, faster than the human eye could follow. For 3 whole seconds, night turned into day. And then the shockwave began. It wasn't a physical wave like wind or water. It was an invisible wave made of particles, radiation, and raw cosmic force. The first effect was immediate. Earth's magnetic field shook. In the Arctic, auroras exploded in color: purple, blood red, bright gold, painting the sky like a cosmic storm. In Africa, auroras appeared for the first time in history. In Asia, bright streaks carved across the horizon. In Europe, the sky glowed with waves of green light. People stared in awe. Some cheered. Some wept. The sky had become a living, moving painting. Inside the observatory, the power flickered. Lights on, lights off, lights on. Instruments shut down and restarted. Screens glowed with error messages, then returned to normal. "Sir," Sana shouted, "the magnetic field is fluctuating." "I know," Adil yelled back. "Record every second." Sana grabbed a portable camera. The building rattled slightly, as if the universe had just exhaled on Earth. "Is it safe?" she asked. "Not completely," Adil replied. "But we're far enough from major power grids. That helps us." Around the world, chaos followed. Power grids in several countries went offline. Communication towers lost signals. Airplanes changed routes. Submarines surfaced to reset navigation. TV broadcasts froze. Phones lost networks. People panicked as screens went black. In hospitals, backup generators flickered on. Doctors shouted instructions. Patients cried in confusion. In space, several satellites shut down completely, never to turn on again. Space agencies watched helplessly as millions of dollars of equipment were fried instantly. "This is the radiation wave," Alina Reyes told the global leaders. "The worst of it is now sweeping past Earth." Outside on Earth, however, people didn't see equipment failing. They only saw the sky burning: purple, red, blue, gold, colors dancing like living flames. Some cried out in fear. Some prayed. Some recorded videos. Some held hands with family members, and some whispered, "Is this the end?" Back at the observatory, Sana looked at the sky through the window. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Adil nodded. "It's beautiful and dangerous, the perfect combination." Sana asked quietly, "Will there be more waves?" Adil checked the readings. "Yes, the explosion will send multiple layers. What we're feeling now is just the beginning." Sana swallowed nervously. "How strong will the next one be?" Adil didn't answer right away. He knew the truth. If the next wave was stronger, it could temporarily weaken the ozone layer, cause communication failures for days, and disturb Earth's climate. Finally, he said, "We must prepare for more. This supernova has only just begun." Sana looked at him, her face serious. "Then what happens now?" Adil stared at the glowing sky, the dancing auroras, the cosmic storm lighting up the world. Now, he said softly, we wait for the next wave, and hope Earth survives it. Because in the deep darkness of space, behind the beautiful colors, something even stronger was coming. A force no one on Earth had ever experienced. The second shockwave, and this one would change everything. The world was still shaking from the first shockwave, but there was no time to breathe. The sky looked like a giant painting mixed with fire, water, and light. Purple and green ribbons of aurora danced above deserts, forests, oceans, and cities. People watched the heavens in silent awe, unaware that the next danger was already racing toward Earth. Inside the observatory, Dr. Adil wiped sweat from his forehead. The equipment was still flickering, buzzing, and occasionally shutting down. Sana, sitting at the computer, tried to record as much data as she could before the next disruption. "Sir," she said, pointing at the screen, "the radiation curve is lifting again. It's rising faster this time." Adil leaned in. The numbers were climbing like steep mountains. "This is the second wave," he said softly. Sana swallowed. "Will it be worse?" "Yes," he answered. "The second wave usually carries the strongest part of the explosion. We must prepare for more chaos." Outside, the auroras grew brighter, swirling like glowing storms in the sky. Far from the observatory, deep underground, the Global Space Agency worked like a beating heart. Director Alina Reyes stood at the center of a ring-shaped control room. Dozens of scientists rushed around her, shouting updates, connecting cables, and checking damaged systems. "Alina," a scientist shouted, "2 more satellites are gone." Another yelled, "Europe just lost part of its GPS network." Radiation rising in the northern hemisphere. Power grid failure in multiple countries. The room sounded like a battlefield. Alina raised her voice. "Everyone, calm down, focus on the second wave's arrival time." A young researcher ran up to her, trembling as he handed her a printed sheet. "Alina, this is the projection. The second wave will hit Earth in approximately." He paused, gulped, and continued. 90 minutes. The room fell silent for a moment. Then panic broke out again. Meanwhile, in cities around the world, life was far from normal. In New York, thousands gathered in Times Square, staring at the sky as the colors deepened. News screens flashed warnings, but no one left. They watched, recorded, and whispered to each other in fear. In India, crowds sat along riverbanks praying, chanting, and lighting candles. Some called it a heavenly warning, others said it was a cosmic miracle. In Africa, families gathered around fires, listening to village elders share ancient stories about stars falling and skies changing. In Europe, people evacuated tall buildings and gathered in parks, afraid that electrical surges might cause fires. In Japan, monks rang bells at temples, praying for protection. Across the entire planet, billions of people stood united in fear of something they could not see, but could feel. The world was small beneath the universe that now glowed like a furnace. Inside the observatory, the tension thickened as time passed. Sana stared at the clock. "Sir, 30 minutes left." Adil nodded. "Check the ozone models." She clicked a button and a digital globe appeared with blue layers representing the ozone shield. Her eyes widened. "Sir, is this correct? The ozone, it's thinning in several areas." Adil moved closer, his heart sinking. "Yes," he whispered. "The first wave damaged it slightly. The second wave will hit those weak points harder." "What happens if it gets too thin?" "Ultraviolet radiation will increase," he said. "It won't kill us instantly, but it could harm crops, skin, and ecosystems if the damage becomes greater." Sana felt a heavy weight sink in her chest. "We're really watching Earth change in real time." Adil nodded slowly. "History is happening above us, but it might rewrite our future." Minutes passed like slow, trembling footsteps. Around the world, governments urged people to stay indoors. Emergency sirens wailed through cities. Schools and offices closed. Cars lined up outside gas stations, though the pumps were already malfunctioning. In some places, electricity vanished completely, leaving millions in darkness. In others, power flickered like a candle struggling against the wind. The sky above remained alive, glowing, spinning, shifting. People stared upward even as they trembled inside. In the observatory, all lights suddenly turned off. Darkness swallowed the room. Sana gasped. "Sir, power failure." Adil grabbed a flashlight from the desk and switched it on. A faint beam cut through the darkness. "It's the magnetic disturbance," he said. "The second wave is close." He checked his watch. 10 minutes. The building creaked gently as if something heavy pushed against Earth's magnetic field. Even the air felt strange, lighter, thinner. Sana whispered, "Sir, I feel like my ears are ringing." "You're not imagining it," he said. "Magnetic storms can create pressure changes." Sana placed her hands on her ears. "It feels unnatural." Adil shone the flashlight on the telescope. "Record with your phone, the main equipment may fail." "Yes, sir." A faint humming sound filled the room, deep, low, rumbling, like the voice of the universe growing louder. In the sky above, people witnessed something terrifying and beautiful. A thin, bright line stretched across the heavens, moving slowly but steadily. It looked like a blade of light slicing through the night. It was the front edge of the second wave. People pointed at it in fear. Some screamed, some fainted, some dropped to their knees. It was unlike anything ever seen by human eyes, a glowing white arc spreading from one end of the sky to the other. Inside the observatory, the floor vibrated slightly. "Sir," Sana whispered, her voice trembling. "Is that the wave?" "Yes," Adil said, "it's here." The windows glowed faintly. Dust fell from the ceiling. The flashlight flickered. Sana clutched her notebook tightly. Then boom, not a sound but a pulse. A deep, silent shock that shook the world. Lights burst across the sky, white, blue, gold, like a cosmic explosion covering the entire dome of the heavens. Electricity across continents died instantly. Phones turned off. Cars stopped. Screens went black. Streetlights blinked out one by one. For a moment, Earth was silent. A strange, heavy silence. A silence full of fear. The auroras intensified, swirling wildly. Purple waves collided with red spirals. Green curtains of light cracked like whips across the sky. Yellow streaks tore through the darkness. The sky looked alive, like a giant creature made of light. Even Dr. Adil stepped back, overwhelmed. "This is beyond anything I imagined," he whispered. Sana stared at the sky, tears in her eyes. "Sir, it's beautiful and terrifying." Adil nodded slowly. "This is the universe showing its true power." In cities around the world, the effects were immediate. Hospitals switched fully to backup generators. Airplanes already grounded remained stuck on runways. Ships in the ocean lost digital navigation, relying on manual tools. Banks, shops, and ATMs went dark. Traffic lights flickered once, then died. People panicked, shouting and running. Some prayed loudly. Some hugged their families. Some simply watched the sky, accepting whatever fate awaited them. The world had never felt so fragile. Inside the observatory, instruments began working again slowly, flickering back to life. Sana checked the screens. "Sir, systems are restarting." Adil leaned forward. "Good, we need to see the aftermath." Slowly the graphs updated. Radiation levels were dropping. Magnetic disturbance was decreasing. The sky grew calmer. Sana whispered, "The second wave, it's passing." Adil nodded, relieved. "Yes, but we must check the damage." He opened the global model. Large parts of the ozone layer had weakened. Communications across the world were damaged. Satellite coverage was down by nearly 40%. "This is bad," he whispered. "But Earth survived." Sana placed a hand on her chest. "Thank God." Then she frowned at another reading. "Sir, what is this?" she asked. Adil looked at the screen. His face went pale. It was another wave. Bigger. Stronger. Moving faster. The graph labeled it clearly. "Third wave detected." Sana stepped back. "Sir, a third one." Adil whispered, "Yes." He stared at the sky, heart pounding. This one could be the most dangerous of all. He turned to Sana. We must warn the world. Because the supernova was far from over. The universe had one more move. The world had barely begun to breathe again after the second wave when the worst news arrived. A third wave was coming, and it was bigger than anything humanity had ever imagined. Inside the observatory, Dr. Adil stared at the screen, his heart pounding. Sana stood beside him, frozen in fear as she watched the rising curve on the monitor. The line was rising so sharply that it looked like a steep wall. "Sir," she whispered, "the third wave, it's huge." Adil rubbed his forehead, trying to think clearly. "This isn't just huge," he replied. "This is the true explosion. Everything before this was only the beginning." Sana swallowed hard. How long until it reaches Earth? Adil checked the calculations. His face turned pale. 50 minutes. Sana gasped. "That's less than an hour." Adil nodded slowly. The universe doesn't follow human schedules, it follows its own. Around the world, the Global Space Agency received the same readings. Director Alina Reyes gathered her team inside the emergency center. Everyone looked tired, shaken, and overwhelmed, but the news forced them to stand up straight. "Alina," one scientist said, "the third wave is 10 times stronger than the second." Another shouted, "We might lose global communication entirely." A military advisor added, "What about the power grids, the hospitals, flight systems?" Alina raised her hand, calming the room. "Everyone listen. We still have time to warn the world, but we must act quickly." A large screen behind her flashed with red alerts. Third wave, superwave inbound energy level, extreme expected impact. Global. The room fell silent as they stared at the words. "We are facing the biggest wave in recorded human history," Alina said. "If we prepare, we can reduce the damage. If we panic, the consequences will be worse." She pointed at her team. "Spread the message, now." Across Earth, emergency broadcasts began. Sirens wailed in major cities. Radio stations repeated warnings. TV channels switched to emergency mode. A calm but serious voice spoke. "Attention, citizens. A major cosmic wave is approaching Earth. Stay indoors, avoid electronics, protect your eyes from bright light. Stay calm, further updates will be provided." Some people listened, others panicked. Crowds rushed into shelters, families gathered in basements. Firefighters and police guided people to safety. Hospitals prepared for emergencies, but many people went outside anyway, not from disobedience but from wonder. They wanted to see the sky's last great display. Across the world, eyes lifted toward the heavens. The glowing star pulsed with a deeper, more powerful rhythm. Each pulse shook the atmosphere. Each flicker cast shadows on the ground. The universe was preparing its final blow. Inside the observatory, Sana recorded a video message. "People of Earth, this is Sana from the Mountain Observatory. The third wave is coming. Please stay calm, stay indoors, and be with your families." Her voice broke slightly. She ended the recording, wiped her eyes, and looked at Adil. "Sir, what about us? Should we go somewhere safe?" Adil shook his head. "Our duty is here. The world needs data. Someone must witness this." Sana nodded bravely, even though fear tightened her chest. "Then let's face it," she whispered. The final minutes ticked away. 40 minutes left. 30 minutes. 20, 10. The sky grew strange, unnaturally still. Wind stopped. Birds vanished. Animals hid. Clouds stopped moving. It was as if nature could sense what humans couldn't see. Sana whispered, "It feels like the world is waiting." Adil nodded, "It is." The observatory lights flickered again. "Sir," Sana said quietly, "thank you for everything you taught me." Adil smiled softly. "You were the best assistant I ever had." They both looked out the window as the sky changed again. Then it began. A thin glowing line appeared on the horizon, white, sharp, and bright. But this time it wasn't slow, it wasn't gentle, it wasn't distant. It expanded at incredible speed, racing across the sky like a curtain of blazing light. People screamed, children cried, dogs barked frantically. It looked like heaven itself was opening. Adiel whispered, "The third wave is here." And the world braced. Boom! A deep, silent shock hit Earth. Not a sound, but a vibration through the air, soil, oceans, and sky. The lights in the observatory exploded with sparks. Monitors shut off. The telescope shut down. The floor trembled. Sana held onto the table to stay standing. Adio shouted, "Stay back from the windows." The sky outside flashed violently, red, gold, blue, white, all colors at once. It looked like galaxies were spilling into the night. Auroras exploded across the entire atmosphere. The entire sky became an ocean of swirling lights. People across Earth watched the heavens ignite. It was terrifying, it was beautiful, it was unforgettable. Then came the second part, the one no one expected. A strange electromagnetic pulse hit Earth. Phones burst with static. Car engines failed. Drones dropped from the sky. Radios turned to silence. Electric grids collapsed. Entire continents went dark. The world entered a blackout. Billions of people stared upward as the power of the universe washed over them. Some screamed. Some prayed, some stood frozen, and some smiled, realizing how small human problems truly were. In the observatory, Sana covered her ears. "Sir, the pressure, it hurts." Adiel held onto the telescope base. "Stay low, don't look at the sky." But Sana's eyes wandered toward the window. The sky was swirling like a giant firestorm. Every color was bright enough to hurt. The air felt heavy, electric. She whispered, "It's like the universe is alive." Adiel pulled her down. "Don't look directly, it could damage your eyes." Sana nodded, trembling. Minutes passed like hours, and then slowly the sky began to calm. The light dimmed, the auroras softened, the world stopped shaking. People peeked out of shelters. Power grids began restarting in some places. Birds cautiously returned to the sky. Humanity was bruised, shocked, shaken, but alive. The third wave had passed. Earth had survived, but the aftermath was only beginning. Inside the observatory, Adiel stood up slowly. Lights flickered back on. The computer rebooted. The telescope hummed softly. Sana looked around, shaking. "Sir, is it over?" Adiel checked the readings. "The worst part is over," he said, "but now we must see what remains." He turned the telescope toward the star's location. Sana held her breath. Adiel adjusted the focus. The star was gone, not dimmed, not bright, not flickering, gone. Sana whispered, Where is it?" Adiel stepped back, eyes wide. "It collapsed," he whispered. "The star has turned into something else." Sana felt chills down her spine. What did it become? Adiel took a deep breath. A neutron star, or maybe something much worse. The screen updated. A tiny, incredibly dense object appeared, a spinning shadow in space, a pulsing core, a dangerous remnant. Adiel whispered, "A black hole." Sana gasped, "A black hole near Earth?" Adiel nodded slowly. Yes. Earth had survived the supernova, but something more powerful, more mysterious, more dangerous had just been born, and it was watching.